Ave, true to Christ. Hey everybody, this is Charitable Christianity, and today we are going to be talking about the story that Michael Knowles broke on his YouTube channel, talking about the Woburn family and how they were getting their license revoked for adopting because they would not affirm an LGBTQAI plus kid's identity. It's a really bizarre story, but I thought we could do a deep dive on it. So I'll play the video first, and then we'll go through some articles that were talking about it and the actual policy. It seems like the policy I found related to this, so we'll get into it. So first we have the video explaining the situation.
Tonight, a Woburn couple says they were forced to choose their faith over foster children. Thanks for staying with us. I'm David Wade.
And I'm Courtney Cole. They say a new non-discrimination policy is to blame, but as WBZ's Louisa Moeller shows us, some say this policy is needed to protect children.
So we need to grab the jogger, which is right there. And I wanted to grab the high chair too.
Lydia and Heath Marvin are ready to bring kids into their home on a moment's notice.
Our Christian faith, it really drives us toward that. Like James says, true undefiled religion is to care for the fatherless.
The Woburn couple
Man, the closed captions are so slow.
Care for 8 foster children, including a baby with complex medical needs, for 15 months.
Every night for 15 months, we were up at least three times.
Yeah.
That's in addition to their own 3 kids. And they were ready to keep going until Massachusetts Department of Children and Families pulled their license last spring.
Now that it seems like there's no path forward.
We certainly thought we would have young children in our home. For how long, we didn't know, but we were not done having young children in our home.
The heart of the issue, the Marvins refused to sign DCF's LGBTQIA+ non-discrimination policy, which states a foster family must accept a child's assertion of their LGBTQIA+ identity, address children by their names and pronouns, and support gender-neutral practices regarding clothes and physical appearance.
We had asked, is there any sort of accommodation? Can you waive this at all? We will absolutely love and support and care for any child in our home, but we simply can't agree to go against our Christian faith in this area. And we're ultimately told, no, you must sign the form as is, or else you will be delicensed.
The Marvins are still considering their options, but 2 other Massachusetts Christian foster families filed a federal lawsuit against DCF in September, represented by the Massachusetts Family Institute and national group Alliance Defending Freedom.
So there's a speech component and also a religious liberty component to the lawsuit.
Just last week, the Trump administration sent Mass DCF a letter. It mentions the Marvins directly and says, quote, "These policies and developments are deeply troubling, clearly contrary to the purpose of child welfare programs and in direct violation of First Amendment protections." But LGBTQ+ advocates argue the non-discrimination policy is for kids. Massachusetts foster parents also receive a monthly stipend.
Like, the state has an obligation to children to make sure that they're safe and well protected. And like foster parents, they're not parents, right? Foster parents are temporary. They're supposed to be there. There's a stopgap to try to make sure children can go safely back to their families of origin.
Data collection by Mass DCF is poor, according to a report by the Massachusetts Commission on LGBTQ Youth, but the report suggests roughly 30% of Mass foster children could identify as LGBTQ, like the data collected in Los Angeles and New York.
I need to clean this off a little bit, but...
The Marvins have not cared for any kids over the age of 4 and say DCF has been flexible about placements in the past. That's why they're hoping for a conversation.
Well, what if you had a kid whose views about their own gender did not align with your religious beliefs? Mm-hmm. What would you guys do?
We would love and care and support any child. But if there was an issue where we knew that we would have a different position than DCF, we would just be open and talk to them about it.
In Woburn, Louisa Moeller, WBZ News.
So with this, there's a lot of concerns I have just out the stop gate. And when I watched the Michael Knowles video, I could definitely tell that I could feel my blood boiling. So instead of, in the spirit of being slow to speak, I thought about it and thought on it. And I think that the main issues that I have with this is You're forcing somebody to accept a reality that they don't accept. You're not going to be able to force Christians to decide they're going to parent in a way where they have to accept that identity. Because now what you're doing is you're giving power over to the kid, where the kid gets to determine the rules that are going on. You got to realize that the foster parent, you're bringing them into somebody else's home. So you're actually under their rules. And even the Catholic Church supports that the church will support the families in the best way they can, but the families get to choose what school they're going to take their kids to. They're going to choose how they ought to teach and lead their kids. And the church will try to keep them from error and support them to the best of their ability. But there's a communal aspect to it. The other concern that I have is with the one lady that came on. She was talking about that foster parents aren't real parents, they're just a stopgap. That's such a dehumanizing, disrespectful, and frankly rude way to describe them. In this family's case, they are definitely there to give a temporary home until they find a permanent family. So they are a stopgap in this situation. But I just, it seems really egregious and irresponsible to be saying that all foster families are just stopgaps. Maybe she was talking about like this specific category of foster families, and maybe that's what she's referring to. But referring to them as not real families just seems a bit much when they are caring for this child. They are trying to give lessons and to give a good home for them. So it's just a real unfortunate situation. So next we have the file that should be at least, let me see here. It should be the DCF. Yeah, this is the actual DCF policy. So these are the procedures that we're talking about. And we're actually going to go through the procedures. And I'm going to activate nerd mode while doing this, but we're going to actually talk about like what are their actual policies. And are they concerning, or is this sensationalizing? So their procedures, when it comes to identification and updating demographics in iFamilyNet, they have 1, the department is respectful of how individuals ask to be identified and does not make assumptions about any individual's identity. The department accepts the child's assertion of their LGBTQAI+ identity and allows the children to use their expressed names and pronouns at any time. The department addresses children by their names and pronouns when working with children and families and throughout the case record. A court-ordered name or gender change is not necessary for the child's expressed name and pronouns to be utilized. Now, I have two minds about this one. First, they can do whatever they want in that. If they want to respect the child's perceived pronouns, and they want to go about it that way, that's their personal choice to do. But in terms of my personal opinion, when we're talking about truth, we need to have an objective truth that the kid is learning. And if we fill their head with the idea that they can change from male to female or they can transition, that's going to give them a false idea of reality, and that's going to lead to other mental illness because they're never going to be comfortable in their identity because they never learned to be comfortable with the identity that was given to them by God. 2, the department utilizes a child's name and pronoun consistent with their desired privacy and confidentiality. The department asks children and youth about their desires around discussing their names and pronouns with their families and other individuals involved in their life. The department does not disclose this information without the child or youth's permission. The department, 3, the department ensures that the demographic information related to the child or youth's sexual orientation, gender identity, name, and pronouns is reviewed every 6 months and updated in electronic record as needed. If a youth or child has not yet disclosed their identity or their family is not supportive of their identity, The department should include this information in the electronic record so the information is not disclosed mistakenly without a child's or youth's consent. And this is a concern that I have, because if we're going to give a child control over their identity like this, when they haven't fully formed their idea of the world, they aren't able to drink, they aren't able to drive. Like, if you want to do this when they turn 16 and you want to do these kind of practices, I get it. It makes sense, whatever. They're old enough where they can start making those kind of decisions. But they should not have access to gender affirming healthcare, and except for maybe like a therapist or psychologist or somebody that'll help them with gender dysphoria. But as far as like life-changing surgery, they need to be at least 18 if they're going to be doing anything like that. They should have no access whatsoever to that. But I don't like the ending part here, where if this whole idea of hiding this identity from the parents, if the kid doesn't want to have it disclosed. If you're going to have somebody parent the kid, they should know exactly what they're getting into, and to withhold this from them, again, is putting too much power in the kids' hands, and you're not letting the families operate in how they should. You're just determining the child knows best in this situation. It's incredibly irresponsible. So support an individual's identity. Point 4, supportive involvement from family is associated with better mental and physical health outcomes for LGBTQIA plus children. LGBTQIA plus children need families who will support them as... Was that a typo? Oh, that was totally a typo. That's hilarious. LGBTQAI plus children need families who will support them as they explore who they are and as they develop positive self-identity and resilience. Social workers work with children and youth to identify individuals in their life who can support them. Social workers are the primary intervention for a family and must work with the families to understand the importance of accepting and supporting a child's youth identity. Social workers also help the family access resources and services that will affirm and promote the child's youth / identity. If a family is not accepting and affirming of the child's or youth's identity, the social worker utilizes resources and services to help educate the family on acceptance and integrates this into a family's assessment and action plan. Social worker also involves the youth in development of their action plan. So this is incredibly problematic because you are forcing a family into one worldview. And this isn't like a situation... Well, let me categorize this. So this isn't a situation where they are abusing the child. If you have put this child in the care of like a religious person and they don't... Truth does not come in the form of being able to change your pronouns. It's what other way are they going to teach them? And so they're creating this situation of it's abusive to not accept their pronouns and accept their worldview. But if they identify as otherkin and they believe that they are a 100-year-old dragon, or they believe that they legitimately, none of this memeing stuff, they legitimately believe that they are a werewolf or a vampire or something like that. Under these policies, we actually have to accept it. And you might say, well, furries and otherkin don't fall under this LGBTQAI plus umbrella, but what if they are gay and also hold that identity? Are you going to now say that we can't accept otherkin identities? You open the door to destabilizing the whole the whole setup of the fabric and foundation of society. This is why we need to make sure that we understand that there is a binary and you can't change that binary, and that there are incredible consequences that come if you try to mutilate your body and try to achieve this version of yourself that you're trying to appeal to that isn't you. Like, if you think that you're a woman but you were born a man, how are you going to achieve that? You're going to have to take classes, you're going to have to change your mannerisms, you're going to have to go through a lot of changes to pretend to be like this, rather than accepting who you are as a man and coming to terms that maybe you feel a little feminine, maybe you feel a little gay sometimes, you know, but you need to accept that that's who you are. 5, legal name and gender change. The department connects and supports children, youth, and or youth in care in legally changing their name and gender if they wish to do so. Clothing and accessories. Children and youth and or youth in care are allowed to express themselves through clothing, accessory, hairstyles, and other means of expression consistent with their identities. The department supports gender-neutral practices regarding clothing, and physical appearance for transgender and gender-diverse children in care. The department connects children and or youth to resources that provide gender-affirming clothing, such as binders, packers, body shapers, bras, breast inserts, and similar items in a timely manner. And again, you're forcing a certain ideology onto these parents, and the state is deciding how to parent the children, and that's incredibly dangerous, because what happens is the state is imposing their views, whatever the view is, that is. And again, this isn't like a situation of abuse is actually happening. It's a redefinition of abuse and making a gross overstep of power. Of that, basically, with what they're expecting here, if you don't follow through with this, it is a form of abuse, because you are not maintaining their identity and not honoring that. But the problem is, with a kid, especially if you have a gender fluid individual, you're going to have somebody who is flipping back and forth. And now it creates a really difficult situation because kids are fickle. They don't know what they really want, and they need structure. And by you taking the structure away from them and allowing them to determine the relationship with their foster parents, now we've lost the plot, and there is no control in this situation, because it's just, kids are going to be based off of emotions. They don't have a fully developed mind to be able to make fully grounded decisions, especially decisions that are going to shape the rest of their life. They're also making bad habits through this that are not going to go well. 7, gender differentiated facilities. Children and or youth have the right to use restrooms, changing facilities, or other gender differentiated faculties that correspond to their gender identity or gender neutral as they prefer. The department works with the placements and programs to ensure that children/youth have appropriate privacy. Youth may also use a separate non-communal facility if they prefer. This is absolutely ridiculous, because we're talking about families. They are going to be adopted into families where they are not biologically related. So you're going to have a step-bro or step-sis situation where, because they're changing in the same rooms, where you're just basically asking for sexual abuse to happen and for sexual acts to be propagated, but also the requirement of giving them in a separate non-communal facility if they prefer. You are giving too much power to the kid, and not all parents are going to be able to provide this. Connect to services. 8. The department connects and provides LGBTQAI plus children and or youth with resources in their community and schools, such as social support groups, books, and other resources that help build social connections and resilience. The department takes care to ensure the department offices have LGBTQAI plus affirming materials and signs posted through the office to demonstrate affirmation and support of LGBTQAI plus people. If a child or youth is experiencing bullying or harassment at school, the social worker and the children/youth's caregivers work together to address the issue with the school administrators. I'm concerned about the LGBTQAI plus affirming materials because a lot of those kind of materials are really overtly sexual in nature and are pushing kids towards degeneracy in really demeaning and demonstrable ways. 9. Case management, medical care, and mental health services for children and or youth in care are provided in a manner that is culturally responsive and affirming. LGBTQAI plus children and or youth are provided with culturally responsive and affirming case management, medical care, mental health care, and community resources, including gender-affirming care when applicable. Now, I do like that they're trying to provide for these kids as much as possible. There is at least, there is an empathetic component here, at the very least. 10. The department fosters parents and contracted service providers do not make attempts to convince LGBTQAI plus children and or youth to reject or modify their sexual orientation, gender identity, or gender expression. The department does not contract with or make referrals to medical providers, mental health providers, service providers, community and or faith leaders who attempt to change a child's or youth's sexual orientation, gender identity, or gender expression. And this is really concerning because, first of all, you're telling parents how they should parent and just basically saying this is a line you can't cross. And then the second thing that's an issue with it is it's a you do this or else situation. It's an ultimatum that you're creating that if they attempt to enforce their beliefs of, listen, I know the department told you that you could live this certain way, but here, if you want to have a home here, we strongly believe that there is only a binary, and it's important that we come to that understanding. Or if they want to be more loving and say that, hey, I know that they enabled that, and you'll still have a place here regardless, but going forward, we do need to understand that there is an objective truth, and that objective truth is there's only male or female. It's okay if you feel this way, and you can continue the conversation in a very loving way. But the point that I'm trying to get at is this becomes a civil rights violation, because now you're going to be pursuing and you're going to be discriminating against people of a certain creed just because they don't believe in that truth. And that doesn't make sense to me, that this is legal for them to set this up. 11. The department staff do not impose their personal, cultural, and or religious beliefs on children and families involved with the department. Children and or youth can request a new social worker or placement if their needs are not being appropriately addressed, or if they are experiencing bias, harassment, or discrimination from their social worker or placement. Requests for a new social worker or placement should be sent to the area director where the case is assigned. It's usual social worker stuff. Placements. 12. The department ensures that the placements for children, including foster homes, group homes, and residential programs, are safe and affirming for LGBTQAI plus children or youth. The department identifies safe and affirming placements in their electronic record and matches LGBTQAI plus children and or youth with placements that are safe and affirming. children and or youth are placed consistent with their gender identity unless there's safety or privacy concern expressed by the individual child and or youth who is to be placed. And finally, grievances. Children, youth, and families are able to file a grievance if they believe this policy has been violated. The grievance process provides an opportunity to resolve disagreements concerning any matters that cannot be appealed through fair hearing, i.e. a written complaint about a decision made by or conduct of an individual employed by the department or contracted provider. Children under age 14, though their attorneys, through their attorneys or through representative of a child authorized by an attorney, parent, or guardian. Youth and young adults may file grievances with the director of the department or provider agency office. And this has been effective as of 2022. So my confusion... My confusion is if this specific policy here has been effective since 2022, why is this story coming out now? This doesn't make sense to me. There's something missing with this story, and I smell some sort of... there's a rat here. Something smells. I don't know what it is, but there's some dishonesty going on. I was going to share with you guys another story that you saw pop up on the screen there about some Catholic parents. Did it die? Oh, there we go. Okay. I was like, don't die on me, please. No dying. Anyways, point of what I'm saying is I would have gone into it, but the video has gone on long enough, and I think that you guys get an idea that these policies are scary. These policies are dangerous, and they are going to lead to kids being given too much power. We're taking power away from the foster parents. We are inflating the egos and allowing bad habits to be formed, and making it harder for parents to form that, foster parents to form that bond with these children. And we're forcing these parents to go against their conscience and to go against their beliefs. It's a recipe for disaster. It's not going to end well. But that is everything, guys. Feel free to comment and tell me your thoughts on this. How dangerous you think this is or not dangerous. I'd love to have this discussion with you, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. God bless you all, and peace be with you. Bye.